I'm going to sort of record this. So in Visio, you just go to office.com and then open up your Visio thing. You can start editing. For today's requirement, you need to put a box like this with some text in it. You've got lots of tools over here on the side that you will use. Okay, so you're going to use a circle at the
So
start.
is this in Word document?
No, this is not a Word document. I think you could probably achieve this in a Word document, but uh, the idea of today's lesson is to use a proper drawing tool, which is Visio. So this is not Word. No, it's Visio, which is a Microsoft product, and it's a Microsoft product that doesn't come with your normal Office um, account. However, if you pay a little extra money, you can get it. And we have done that here for college students. And so you should have access to it through your office.com account, Visio. But good question. No, this is not in Word. So, I mean, you have these tools on the side. Now, the thing about the shapes, and you'll see this later. So you got basic shapes. We have so many different tools available to us for drawing in Visio. So at the moment we're just using some basic shapes, but there's some better flowchart shapes there. There's some engineering and software and database shapes that you might use at some point. I mean, if you're getting into a diagram, which is going to be, oh, and when we have to do, I'll show you that soon. In business, we've got the organizational chart, right? Which is a whole different thing. When we do the organizational chart, we have a sort of a special application that comes up for. So, but for today's exercise, you just need to pick the shapes. Now it's just flowchart rules are we have these things that we call connectors and we use those if the flowchart goes over a page, so we have to connect one page to another, then we'll have a thing here which will say, continue, and then on the next page we'll continue from there, or we can use them as start and end. Now in some flowcharts those don't have to be circles, they could be ellipses or anything with a rounded soft edge. But we've actually kind of used rounded edges for some other things here. Now, in a flowchart, so again, this is just rules of flowcharting. Flowcharting was one of the sort of first diagrams that systems developers and systems analysts started using for designing their computer programs. So you should become familiar with flowcharts. But the idea in flowcharts, yeah, so we have connectors. They're at the start of the end. Anything which is rectangular is going to be a process. That's something which just happens. The way the flowchart works is by the arrows. It happens with sequence. We have sequence and we have iteration. These are the things that we have in all of our software. So sequence means things happen in an order. And so in a flowchart, we can show that order. In other words, the things that from the start, those things happen first and the things near the end happen last. And in a flowchart, we actually have arrows to show what do we do next. So the rectangular box, that just means a process that has to happen at that point. And rectangular, yeah, they can be subdivided into smaller boxes. If you have a diamond box, so we've got like 4 of those there. The diamond box is a choice. And so you'll see the choices coming out of those are yes or no. And one of these is really small. I'm sorry about that. That's a no. But basically, so when we get to this ready to get up, so it's if or else, if it's else, right? So that's how that would be translated into a computer program. If this,
So
then
I'm
do
not
that.
understanding.
Sorry.
The box means like the process that's going to be starting, and the green diamond shapes are like choices, like either do you want this or that.
Correct. The
Really?
diamond is if else it would be translated in a computer program to if then else. Does that make sense? The else would be the no bit, right? So if this is true, then we do that. Else, if it's not true, then we do that. And this is another if. If this is true, then we go back to there. Else, if it's not true, we go to the next thing. So that's how we do those. It's you would write this stuff. We have stuff called pseudocode, where you could translate this into sort of like a computer language. Um, the early procedural computer languages that we used. We called them third generation languages in the 70s and 80s. Flowcharts were very, very good for uh, designing those little programs. And you could use them probably the way that you're being taught Python. You could use flowcharts to write your Python programs. Now, the reason why I said the way that you're being taught Python, that's this semester. Next semester, if you continue with software development, you will do another Python course, 2040, and in that course, you got introduced to this concept of object-oriented programming. And so, object-oriented programming doesn't lend itself really well to these kind of flowcharts because we have objects with classes and methods, and so that's a little bit more modern way of doing programs. But going back to but Python, you can do both. You can do the more traditional way. I'm sorry, I'm talking a lot about this, but that's it's a fairly simple thing that you need to do. But I hope it makes sense. So the tools that you've got your box, rectangular box. That's just something that you have to do a process. Your diamond, that's a choice, this or that. You've got connectors. Now you can find your connectors up here. And once you've got a connector in there, you can edit your connector, change colors. There's lots of different things that you can do to edit it, right? So you've got shape styles and you can make it fatter, thinner, all of that. Okay, so any of these things, once you've got them, you'll find that you can style it and change it significantly to be more in line with what you would like it to be up here. Okay, so I'm not going to talk too much more about that. That's your introduction to that. All I will say is, supposing for some reason you don't have access to Office.com, if you don't, you should actually contact me because you should have. But let's say you leave the college and you no longer have an account. Then you want to do some diagram like this, you can go to draw.io and it'll actually forward me to another thing, and you can create a diagram there. It's got all kinds of options, totally free. You can do this from anywhere, and you can save those diagrams as well. So there's flowchart. You can sort of pick from their flowcharts, and you could basically do the same thing. So I guess I'm saying you don't really have an excuse not to do this, right? I mean, the software, you've got Visio, but you don't need Visio to do this. There are other things that you could do. So I think I'm going to stop. So yeah, so how do we get started? We just go to Office. Oh, I had enough coffee. I should be able to type all right. Yeah. Now then I need to find Visio. And hopefully you've got Visio there. If you're not sure, you can sort of you can check it. Do you have Visio? And once you've got your Visio, you can. I've got some drawings there, but then you're going to need to choose what kind of drawing you want to do. Basic drawing, basic flowchart. That would probably be okay. Create a basic flowchart, and once Visio will take a second to get going there, and then you have these. You got your decision and your process, and those are the only ones that you need. So these ones are a little different color than the one I did, but you could go ahead and do that. So you're going to start with one of those. Start that out there. Um, then you could, I suppose, you could edit that shape, put some text in it. Right, I edit text and just call that start. And then do the next thing, whatever it was a process. The next one is a process. So edit text on that, right click, edit text, and whatever that was, alarm rings, I think. And then you're gonna get a drawing, an arrow. Is that this? Kind of looks different than, yeah, maybe I could do an insert. No, no, don't. No, sorry. Where's my Mm, okay, so from the shapes, actually, I probably have to go back to the shapes and find the line. Mm, lines. Oh man. So this is not the way I did it, but what I need to do. Okay, so let's just do connector. Connections, connector. There we go. So, eh, when all else fails, right? Use the search. Put the connector in there. And all right, so then you could edit some text on that if you wanted to, right? When you're finished, you would so you go back to your tools. When you're finished, you're gonna have your end there. Finish. Somewhere in there, you're going to have a diagram, a decision, right? Okay. So we could say, and I need to do a couple more so get my connector again. Come on, connectors. I don't know why I have to search for them. They should just be there, right? Anyways, you might find a way of finding them that's a little more efficient than
Sir,
what
are the
I did.
connectors called arrows?
Could be.
Because
Yeah.
then you have to add the arrows from the add button.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, as I said, you'll no doubt you'll find a more efficient way of doing it because I'm sort of making this up as I go. So I've got my thing there. This one here, I could draw another arrow from here to back to that, and this one will say no, and this one will say yes. Oh, so I mean, you saw me sort of flailing about there. No doubt you very smart students could do it way better than I've done it. Um, but use whatever thoughts that you have on that. But these are the tools that you have to use for this exercise. Is our start and ends, our decisions. When we do the decisions, we want to label the arrows, or they call them connectors, and away you go. Okay, I hope that helps.